It's time to talk sports, it's time for the show. When you hear this song on the radio, it's time to tune in, better act fast. Let me get that potograph. Potograph, Sports Talk Radio. Starting now.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 165 of Let Me Get That Potograph. My co-host is laughing at me for some reason, but as always, my name is Drew, or the DH, and my co-host, as always, is Mr. Scott Rappaport.
Drew, what's going on, man?
Not too much.
You know, it's good. It's good to be back after a week off, and I'm going to tell you, you had a lot more fun during that week than I did.
Yeah.
I was sick.
Oh,
so let's just leave it at that. I was sick. It was not COVID. I'm fine now. But what did you do?
Wow. Well, yeah, I was down in Florida and then went over to Collecticon after that. So I've been traveling quite a bit, flew over to Denver from Florida. So went down to Florida for a few days, nice in the sun, beautiful, nice and hot. Then flew over to Denver and it got down into like 30s at night. And I was like, all right, this was a nice surprise, but
Dude, that's like July here in Chicago.
Yeah, I know.
No, actually, it gets really freaking hot here.
Yes, it does.
But it's been in the 30s for a while here now. So it's like I'm still wearing shorts.
When I left North Carolina, it was 90, and when I flew back, it was 30. We're in our 30s now, so 60-degree swing while I was gone. But yeah, I was down there visiting for Collecticon. Denver, really cool city, I will say. One that I hadn't been to since I was a real little kid, so I didn't really remember anything, So it's a very, very neat city. A lot of homeless, which is something I don't really want to touch on right now because it frustrated me. But
that's not just Denver, man. That's everywhere now.
Yeah,
any big city is gonna have it.
But a beautiful city, and Collecticon, man. Collecticon was absolutely amazing. The TCG market's absolutely on fire. That traveling show is incredible, and the amount of people that go to all of them is amazing. Like there's always, obviously way more new people, but the amount of people that are going to all of them is incredible. And for those that don't know it, that don't get in the TCG world, Collecticon is a traveling show that visits different cities throughout the year, and it's the same show. With some have different signers and obviously some have different vendors, but overall it's the same show. Vanilla Ice was the musical guest. They have panels, every time, and stuff like that.
They were digging deep with Vanilla Ice.
Well, Ninja Turtles, Go Ninja Go. So
I guess
Turtles
that makes sense.
there. Yeah, so
because I was gonna say if they really wanted to dig even deeper for the next show, they can bring in Snow. Remember that guy?
There you go. Well, it is coming. Speaking of digging deep, they are coming back next year, and they're adding 2 dates. But in addition to that, they're also bringing in more sports cards. And as of right now, I know for a fact that they're speaking with Panini, and Panini may set up there next year. They're in the process of talking with Fanatics as well. They're looking to move sports cards into it as well and bring it as sports and TCG. They're looking to bring them all together next year. And so if you're a vendor and everything, definitely reach out to them if you're interested. I will tell you, there's 1 million people that go there just to drop off sports stuff, and there's some sports vendors there already.
Does that mean they're also looking at larger venues as well?
Right. Yeah. Oh no, these are all huge. I mean, these are massive convention centers that could hold the National. You know what I mean? These are huge places that they're going to. They're not going to very tiny little venues. No, some of the cities probably couldn't, like Charlotte, Kansas City, but all the other ones were Dallas, Orlando, Long Beach, and they've got a couple new locations next year. So they're going in big cities. They're huge shows. They're packed to the brim. I mean, Kansas City was the slowest, and even there, it was nonstop. But I mean, Denver, Long Beach, places like that, Dallas, packed to the brim, and bringing in
Dallas
sports.
is always, regardless what the show is, Dallas is always packed.
Yes.
They have a great, culture around collectibles, whether it's sports or otherwise. I mean,
well,
it's
a lot of sports dealers in
yeah.
Dallas just grab tables anyway. And it was the week after the Dallas card show. So they a lot of people also stayed and had bought tables for that. So Dallas had a little bit more sports. And I think that's probably where they saw that the two could come together. And I really love this idea because the TCG community loves Collecticon. MetaZoo has a massive booth every time, and it's incredibly cool. The things they do, the promos that they do are absolutely amazing. I know nothing about it at all, but it's got some really cool stuff. And I'll tell you, that game is insanely popular with players. And there's a lot of people actually playing the game. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting. But adding sports to it, I think, could make this into something absolutely massive. And like I said, next year they're looking to do that. But, there's so many, we talk a lot about shows and everything. And there's a lot of shows nowadays. But this traveling show being branded under Collecticon, I think, is something that if you hit the right areas, the Dallas, Orlando's, Long Beach, especially out in California, things like that, you're going to have a mammoth show.
I'd like to see a date, up north.
Yes. That's where they're coming next year. I believe one of the added dates, don't quote me, I believe it's Chicago or that area. Yeah.
Which would be good, because if you're doing all of them and it gets you up here an extra time a year and get a chance to hang out with you and Jared and stuff like that during during the show. Because it seems like Denver was the furthest north that they went this year. They tried to stay in the, I don't want to say the warmer climates, but
it was
below the Mason-Dixon line is kind of where they were targeting this year.
Kansas City, Denver, Long Beach, Dallas, Orlando, and Charlotte was this year. And they're adding 2 more next year. So, I don't know exactly where they are. I'll update everybody on that. But it's an incredible show. I'm always there. Obviously, shout out to Gem Mint. Always working with them. And it's a ton of fun. The shows are awesome. And I think adding sports cards to it is going to take it to another level, especially if they can get some of the big guys in, like Panini. And I think a company like Panini and Topps Fanatics, I think they'd be dumb not to jump all over this.
Did Upper Deck do anything for it? Because they've got they've got the Marvel stuff, they've got a whole bunch of
but their stuff was so prevalent there, and that's the Marvel stuff was everywhere. But they're looking to speak to everybody, and I'm also trying to get some of that communication started since I have connections in those companies. I've been working with them because we know the owners. So hopefully next year, some of the bigger companies can come. I know you guys listen to the show, so reach out to Matt. You guys know who I'm talking about, and let's get you guys there, because I think this would be really great for the sports world. And a lot of people, so many sports fans went there. And when they were dropping off cards at PSA, they were telling me, man, this show's awesome, even though there's not a lot of sports cards, because we don't get a lot of big shows.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about Denver. I love that you can be like downtown and you can look west and you just see the start of the Rocky Mountains.
Yes.
There's no other major city in the United States where you have that. The culture around, collections, obviously there's a lot of sports people, in Denver. They've got, some major, they have, all 4 of the major sports teams. The shows that do pop up there every now and again do very well.
Yes.
They just don't have the large shows like Dallas and Chicago and Houston and Atlanta and and stuff like that. Yeah. So they need to get, I think having the Collecticon bring in sports, if that were to pop in Denver again next year, I think that could wind up being an absolutely massive
insane
massive show.
Absolutely insane. And speaking of those Rocky Mountains you were talking about, I got to see a little of the outskirts of Denver. Shout out to Clint from Zion Cases for truck breaking down, and we had to move all his equipment. So we had to go out in the country where there's literally nothing at all. but a beautiful view of the Rockies out there. So thanks, Clint, for that. Shout out Zion Cases. Make sure you grab some. They got some cool new colors too.
I saw those. Those were not. Those were nice.
Beautiful cases, man. And I mean, they're already awesome, but just beautiful, beautiful cases. But yeah, so hopefully sports can come to Collecticon. But yeah, guys, that's why I wasn't here last week, and we had to take a week off. So apologize for that, but had to tend to the last Collecticon of the year.
Well, and I think it was okay because we released a little bit late the week before, and it did give that last episode a chance to sink in because I think what Terrence had to say was solid, and I think deserved that extra time,
and it got the attention of the summit. It got the attention of some haters. It got the attention of quite a few people. So thank you guys for listening, and hopefully we see some different stuff in the future. I really do.
And we'll have Terrence back on a future episode because not just to talk about that, but he's got some really interesting views on a lot of different things within the hobby. And
he picked up some sweet stuff the other day too.
He did. If you're not following him on Instagram, on Facebook, and things like that, he posts a lot of the stuff from the stuff he's buying, and he's got some nice pickups.
Yeah, and speaking of nice hits, that'll drive us into what I want to talk about first today, brother. Everybody knows what's going on. It's no surprise. Barstool's reporting on it now. It's going public, mainstream, whatever you want to call it. But backyard breaks in there. Are they getting preferential treatment and preferential boxes from Panini? Sports Card Radio did their 8.5-hour live stream with, I couldn't believe it, but Brian Gray calling in. Yeah. Tons of other people calling in.
And I'll tell you, when I saw that link, I did click on it because I was thinking it was going to be another 10, 12-minute video. And then when I saw the time on it, 8.5 hours, I'm like, screw this. And I clicked out of it. So I'm just getting the highlights from, what everybody's, commenting on the, in a lot of the groups and things like that. And anybody who took the time to watch the entire 8.5 hours of this, you need to find a hobby.
Yes.
You need something better to do with your life than watch an 8.5 hour feed of those guys, just watching backyard breaks and trying to dig into things. And frankly, I think they have way too much time on their hands.
Oh, you think?
Yes.
I mean, Jesus. Absolutely. 8.5 hours. I mean, hey, if that's what you want to do, be my guest. I wouldn't. That's not me. We won't have any 8.5 marathon shows unless it's at the National with the coolest guests in the entire world.
But even then, we would break it up. No more than 90 minutes or maybe 2 hours at a stretch if we got something really big going on. But that's
the coverage is just ridiculous, dude. It's absurd. But I do want to ask you this: after everything you've seen, after you've seen some of the quote unquote numbers that have been run in comparison with latent sports cards and things like that, what do you think? At least let's get this out of the way. What do you think about, are they getting loaded cases?
So I think that with certain products, that may be a possibility, but with other products, I don't think that is possible. You can't compare. Okay, so for one, Panini is different from Topps and Upper Deck in that they don't publish the pack odds on pulling a specific parallel. Topps will tell you that there's a 1 in X number of pack chance of hitting a superfractor. And depending on the product, you can calculate the odds of, or, you can calculate the print runs and, and things like that. But you can't do that with Panini because they say, okay, well, here's what you could potentially get in this particular variation of the product, but they don't tell you what the odds are within the pack. So making the calculation on print run is a little bit different. Now, You also have certain products like Prism and, Optic and stuff like that, where they're packed out in the factory. The cards are run through the machine. They're put in the packs. Packs are then put in the boxes.
Yeah.
But you have other products like National Treasures, Immaculate, Flawless, where the pack out is done by hand.
Yeah.
And people actually see it. So I think if there's going to be a situation where it is possible for a loaded case to be present, it's going to be in, those higher end products where, the pack out is done. Now, you could potentially calculate the print run on Flawless and Treasures based on the number of one-of-ones in the product and, how many cards you're supposed to get per box and, things like that. It's a little bit tougher than, doing it with the pack odds, but it's possible. And knowing that, it's also possible to see a situation where there might be a loaded case. But the real question is, where are their cases coming from?
Yeah.
And everybody's saying, oh, well, they only buy from distributors. They don't buy direct and, and so forth. But, when you're buying as much product as they're buying, I find it difficult to believe that they don't have a direct account with Panini where some of their product is coming from. Not
and they
all
don't.
Of it.
But that's the thing. They don't. They don't have a direct account. Now, the thing is, I think they have someone who does. I think they have a backer who does.
And that's the thing. So they can say, hey, we don't have the account, but we got a backer over here in the corner that does.
Yeah, that's where this is going with me, man.
And there's nothing stopping them from buying product off Panini's website either.
No,
which would be direct as well. So if they're picking up a lot of the first off the line stuff and and things like that, that would come direct. The rest of it, now I firmly believe that they are buying a ton from multiple distributors.
Yes,
that part is I agree with that, because in order to get the quantity of the product that they are ripping, it has to come from multiple distributors, because there's no way to get that that kind of quantity without it. Whether they have, even if they have a direct account, they're still not going to get that type of quantity direct. It's I would say, if I had to guess, whether they have a backer that has the direct account or whether or not they have it themselves and they're just kind of trying to keep it on the down low, I see maybe 10 to 15% of their product coming direct. Now, the problem then becomes which cases came from distributors, which cases came direct, and there's no way for us to really know. And frankly, once they mix them in, unless they're keeping track of the serial numbers on the cases or marking them, somehow when they come in, that they would even know where the cases are coming from. I think that the reason that they're hitting a lot of these big cards out of products like Prism and, Optic, the lower end, I don't want to say lower end because they're not really lower end, but like the mid-range or traditional mid-range type product, is strictly because of the quantity that they're opening up. Because you've got, guys like Leighton and, some of the other large
Real
breakers that are, they're just, Platinum.
Slam. Yeah.
They're ripping such quantities that you're bound to hit these monster cards.
Right.
What they don't show you, though, I follow Leighton on Instagram, and daily there's always like a 10 picture, thing. Hey, here's some monster hits from the day. And look, Rich does a great job. He's got a great team over there. I love those guys. Shout out to Sarah, who's really running. Who's really, look, we all think Rich runs it. Nah, Sarah is the one that's running things over there. But what we don't see is all the garbage that gets pulled, the duds. And same thing, with back air breaks. They get all the publicity because they hit these monster cards. But look, they're literally running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and they are snap filling some ridiculous products. They are literally ripping all the time.
Yeah. Now, I will say the one thing that was a little crazy was the one case that they seemed to sell in the last couple months, instead of breaking, ended up having the LaMelo 101 logo man in it. I thought that was a little odd.
Yeah.
that was there too. But in terms of like the distribution and stuff, look, they buy a lot of secondary stuff, but I do believe they have a massive backer who is got a direct account with Panini. I think they have ins at Panini. I know for a fact there's some Panini employees that aren't most trustworthy in the world. Like any company, there's always people like that at any company, but I just don't see it. I don't see the preferential treatment, definitely not coming from Panini, but this is where I'm going with this is all of this is happening and all of this is being talked about, and it's all regarding Panini. It's not involving Topps and Fanatics. Panini needs to say something. A 1 or 2 sentence Facebook post, Twitter, anything. Like, look, you need to come out and say something about this. You need to talk about how your logistics are in order. You need to explain the hand packed out process and how it's not possible. You need to explain that. And I think honestly, even though they're trying to bring all this attention to backyard breaks, and it seems like bring backyard breaks down, this is something that is going to have a drastic effect on Panini if a million people start to believe this stuff. And so if I'm Panini, I'm jumping all over this, yet they're completely radio silent on everything, when you would think, I mean, they've got very, very strict processes in place for these packing outs and everything at cards. There should be no problem taking 10 minutes to put a short little post together explaining how this isn't possible to end the whole thing. But instead you get radio silence, which I think is a mistake on Panini's part personally.
Yeah, no, I would agree. They definitely need to come out and say something. They definitely need to, and maybe that, and even if it's something like, hey, we've heard you and we're doing an internal investigation to see if there is anything that, was nefarious going on. And then whenever they're, that'll buy them a little bit of time. And then when they're done with, whatever it is they're doing, that's behind the scenes, they can come out and say, hey, here's what we found, or here's what we didn't find. Kind of what went on with the Washington Redskins. And, now all of a sudden, and you know what, and maybe they do find something. Maybe there is an employee that's involved with the hand pack out that is writing down the serial numbers of the cases that the big hits are going into. And, when they got somebody in shipping that, says, hey, when Backyard Breaks makes an order, or when this person, the backer, whoever it is that's got the direct account makes the order, ship them this case.
Yeah.
And it's possible that the higher ups at Panini know nothing about it.
And maybe they are doing an investigation right now.
But it would be nice for them to come out and say, yes, hey, we're doing it. We're looking into it. We're, give us a little bit of time to see if we will let you know whatever we find out. And, instead they are silent.
Instead they're pulling a Beckett and they're just not speaking up on anything. They're just going completely quiet and completely dead, moving on. Like it's just another day at the office, but really it's not, because the more this comes out, the more this gets discussed, the more this gets put on Barstool and all these other places, the more negative attention you're having on your brand. And it's so easy to address it would take someone 10 minutes to address this. And the fact that it's gone on for over a week now, I think, since that live stream, or 5-7 days, something like that. It's been a little bit. That they've said nothing is quite shocking to me. And I really wish they would, because I don't think that Panini is the one that's doing it. I do think now, outside of when you get into distribution and distributors and things like that, if they've figured out a way to find out which cases have what, if they've figured out some method to figure out how to figure out what cases of flawless or whatever could be loaded, let's say there's some way they figured this out, a distributor, I can see something like that. Because I do think these guys have a massive, look, I grew up right where these guys live. I know how kids from that era are, and they've got very wealthy families. They have a lot of stuff gifted to them, and they've got a lot of people with a lot of connections that might not be the most up and up, should I say.
Most upstanding members of society.
Exactly. And so I could easily see something like that happening. I think they've got a backer just like that. And I think he's got a connection somewhere to where he's able to get stuff like that. But this also, I think, is a case, like you said, of also ripping a ton. Like if they have 5 cases of a product and hit all this, that's one thing. These guys literally 24/7, 365. Like it's an enterprise. It's a freaking empire right now. It's incredible what they've built so fast.
Well, now let me ask you this. Wouldn't you think so? You remember when they teamed up with Leighton and did was it a 40 case flawless break when they were hunting for the LeBron logo, triple logo man? You would think, that if they had it, that they would want that, LaMelo logo man to get pulled in that stream.
Right.
Don't you think?
Well, yes, except for right after an investigation that you're getting all the biggest hits. Like the fact that they sold a case to someone and then he hits LaMelo right after it, that's a little weird.
No, and that's a little weird, but you would think that they would want at least one monster card like that to come out of that 40 case break just for the publicity.
Yes. Now there are accusations that the big hits are also all getting pulled by preferred members, blah, blah, blah. I've seen a lot of that, and I wanted to address that real quick because, guys, if they pull you the Trevor Lawrence 1 of 1 or the Cade Cunningham 1 of 1, yeah, you're going to be a loyal buyer and a supporter. They just pulled you a freaking $20,000, $40,000 card if it's a National Treasures auto, possibly a $100K card. So of course they're going to be loyal supporters. I find it so funny that they're like, all the guys that get big hits are just these people that just support them no matter what. Well, they broke with them and they got a freaking monster hit. No shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're going to keep buying in order to do that. And that's the reason, look, I keep buying select WWE blasters because I've hit 2 1-of-1s out of blasters so far. And when I see them on the shelves, I happen to like the product too, but when I see them on the shelves, I'm still buying them because, I bought maybe 15 of them total and I've hit 2 1-of-1s, including a mezzanine black 1 of 1 and Naomi. And I don't even know WWE. I don't watch it and I'll follow it. I mean, I appreciate the athleticism behind it and things like that. It's not something I know about, but hey, I needed to rip something and it was there. And it's like, boom, hey, here's a 1-of-1 for you. And when you hit one like that, you keep wanting to go back for more. And especially when you hit a second one, it's like, all right, I got to keep going with this one here. Yeah. Those are all the people, you rip a lot, you're eventually going to hit something. I don't buy direct from Panini. I don't buy direct from anybody. Yeah. And I've had some monster hits over the years, and it's part of its luck. Yeah. Part of it is that there is a distinct way that Panini packs out their products with the larger stuff, where if you know that, where the low numbered stuff is at. You don't know what it is. Right. Yeah. It could be a bowl or it could be a tie-dye of Karis LeVert. There you go. Yeah. Numbered to 25, but it's like, all right, well, we know there's something numbered to 25 or less in this box here. And the reality is what's a monster hit today? Yes. A year from now could be a $50 card. Right. And we're seeing that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're seeing that. So it's like, okay, great. It's a monster today, but it may not be a monster tomorrow. And what's a, garbage card today, a year or 2 or 3, 4 years from now, that could be the monster card. Yeah. No, absolutely. If something weird's going on, like I said, it's either they've got a backer who's figured something out, which I know they have the backer. I know that for a fact. But if there's something going on, then it's not one person in shipping. It's got to be multiple people. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a very detailed and very, very, very complex system, because the people in shipping have no clue about the processes that are going on in other areas. So unless there's some markings type of deal that, no one in the world figured out except for this one person. But we'll see what happens. It's been interesting to follow for sure. There's a lot of math out there that shows you how crazy the odds are. But hey, people hit ridiculous odds every single day in sports and the lottery. I mean, stuff happens. And when you open that sheer amount
obviously your odds are going to go way up. So even though they are still astronomical, let's see if this keeps happening for 4 to 6 months, because it wasn't happening 3 months ago.
No,
they weren't pulling it 3 months ago. This is just a short span of time where all this happened, and it caught the attention of people because it was one after the other. It was the triple logo man and all that stuff. That's what started it all. Before that, they weren't hitting that stuff. I mean, every once in a while, of course, because they open so much, but it wasn't every 101, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see if it keeps happening. We'll see, but at the same time, they keep getting more stuff. They buy so much off the secondary market too, from my friends, people I know, sell them tons of cases, lots of breakers, sell them tons of stuff that they can't fill or that's slow to fill. They sell to them. And there's a lot of breakers down there near them that can do it in person. So I know quite a few that do. So they buy a lot off the secondary market. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. And on that note,
yes,
it's time for the rant of the week.
All right.
So I have been seeing a ton of people commenting in all sorts of groups and on Instagram posts, and the common thread with all this stuff is the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Or, ooh, look, it's a wolf. Yeah. The market's crashing. Are you new? Seriously. It's one of those things where, like, okay, I get it. Hey, new people that just came in, during the pandemic, and just got into it. Oh, I'm losing a ton of money on everything because I bought everything so high last year, and now the prices are 50% of what it is. And people complaining about a Tom Brady Contenders, rookie auto. I think it was an SGC 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Old label too that sold for like $33,000. And look, that's low. Yes, absolutely. But let me tell you guys something. The market is not crashing.
No.
All right. So here's the thing. This is what's called a correction.
Yes.
And it happens from time to time. And there are many different factors that go into what happens with the market corrections. Now, part of it does have to do with, hey, people are going back to work and they don't have as much time, and the economy's bad and the money's down. Okay, that represents a small portion of it, but it's not the entire thing. That Brady card that sold for $33,000, I think that has more to do with the fact that, Brady retired, he came back, oh, let's go win another Super Bowl, and then boom, he misses 11 days during training camp because he's off trying to probably save his marriage, which it doesn't look like is going to be possible. And then he comes back and, hey, guess what? He's playing like crap. He's got some of the lowest career numbers that we have ever seen out of Tom Brady, and the market is reflecting that. Awesome. Now, maybe he should have stayed retired. If he had stayed retired, maybe that card would still be selling for what it was 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other factor with football in particular is, what drives the hobby? It's the new rookies that drive the hobby. And guess what? With football, this is not exactly a stellar rookie class.
No.
We've been spoiled in the NFL over the last 5 or 6 years, where we have had a crop of just absolutely chaseable and investable rookies that have come through year after year after year, going back to 2017, where it's not just more than one. There's 5, 6, 7 of them that are in there that, hey, we can invest in this guy and, he'll have a great career and they might be a Hall of Famer. We don't have that this year. And because of that, people aren't chasing the product like they used to, and that has an effect on the rest of the existing products that are out there. As far as basketball is concerned, okay, it's down. You know why? Because we have just been off season.
Yeah, there's other sports going on.
There's other sports going on. There is always a dip in every single sport during the off season. Baseball, hey, guess what? Those prices are about to drop too. Yeah. In fact, they've already started dropping.
Yes,
you can get a PSA 10 Fernando Tatis Topps base rookie for under $30 now.
I know. Granted, you can get a PSA 10 Ohtani rookie right now for around 120, 130 bucks.
Now, here's the thing. You all see that as this, the bottom's falling out of the market. Well, no. Now's the time to buy.
Yes.
And granted, Tatis has his own problems. He had the injury, he was out, and then he's got the drug suspension and things like that. But guess what? He's going to come back, and that card's going to be a three to three. Well, I don't say 4-figure, but it's going to be a 3-figure card. That's going to be over $100 once he comes back and starts playing like he was playing before he got injured. And yeah, it was a stupid injury. And yeah, it was stupid that he took the drugs to, try to rehab and all that kind of stuff. But look, he'll be back at some point, probably in June next year, maybe, depending. I don't know how many games he has left in the suspension, but he'll be back. And he's still so young that he has a massive chance. Now, do I think he hurt his chances to get in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Probably. Do I think he hurt his chances of being a valuable player and being worth the money that's San Diego paid for him? Yes. Nope. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, that would be a no. Sorry, I got the whole yes thing. I'm just kind of going off on a rant here. But the bottom line is the market is just it's in that situation. Most people, you're all freaking out. And just like when the stock market drops, stock traders don't see this as they don't start freaking out. No. What they do, they're like, hey, all right, well, let's time this right. Let's get this to the absolute bottom. And then let's start buying the crap out of everything. And the stuff's going to wind up coming back up. And it's going to be back to where it was. The bottom line is, even though we are down compared to last year and the year before, we are still higher than pre-pandemic pricing. And it's going to be a trend. 5 years from now, hey, guess what? There's going to be another dip, and then it's going to go up again. And in 10 years, hey, guess what? It's going to be another dip. But you're still going to be better off than you were today. Exactly. So don't freak out. Stop all the craziness.
Yes.
Use this as an opportunity. The guys that are buying, that buy and sell individual cards, guys like Terrence and, Anthony Devine and, those guys, guess what? They're not freaking out. You know why?
No.
Because they're selling the stuff for less money now than they were a year ago. They're also buying it for less than they were a year ago. And the margins are all the same. Treat it like stock traders have been treating Wall Street for the last 100+ years.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what it is.
Yes, it comes down to people just not doing what I always say, and it's you always have to adapt. A lot of the people in this industry collect all sports now. It used to be that there was segments of everything, but now people are in everything. So when one sport's going on, that's what they're paying attention to. Other sports might dip. I can't stand, I'll go off on a mini rant here. I can't stand when I see these comments all the time about the sky is falling, and they show 10 cards that are dropping, or they talk about a certain product that's dropping. I can point to 20 others right now that are going up. So what's your point? It's a correction. You're dead on, but it drives me nuts.
And it's also how the guys are playing. Herbert's down. Yeah, of course Herbert's down. He's playing like shit.
Yeah, it should be.
He should be down. That's exactly what it is. Nobody is really playing up to standard. I don't see anybody in the NFL right now that's like, oh man, this guy,
No, this is a parody year, man.
Yeah, it's a weird year. And it's going to come back. These guys are going to come back. It's going
to flesh itself out. The teams are going to get together. The teams that are going to be great are going to gel, and the players that are going to be great are going to come up and pull through. Some might have a down year, but guess what? Every player, every Hall of Famer had a down year. Yes, things ebb and flow. It's a market. They're not always going to stay the same. There's so much uneducation in this market. It drives me nuts.
And a lot of it is being driven
videos that they can go to instead of searching out a podcast like ours, where we'll talk to you about this. There's so many YouTube videos they can just click on real quick that support their theory. And then a million conspiracy theorists and the dumbass YouTube comments on every channel in the world.
Well, Drew, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's 3 YouTube videos that guys that popped up a year ago made. It has to be real.
Yeah, and it's and the big driver behind this are the guys that got in it, a couple of years ago and saw it as an opportunity to stand in line at Target and Walmart and Meijer and all the places to to buy product and flip, and then the stores got wise and hey, check it out, we raised our prices and now we can't make any money anymore. It's too expensive. This stuff's not selling for what it was.
I can't 4X a blaster anymore. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, guys, seriously. Those are the people that shouldn't have been in this in the first place.
Exactly.
People have never ripped a pack in their lives. Now they're out there buying out store shelves because they can flip it for, 4 times what they paid for it. And it's just one of those things. It's like, hey, let's get back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love to see wax prices drop a little bit. They've gotten ridiculous. And there was a point where, how much of that 1920, 2021 Prism basketball and, stuff like that is just sitting because it's too expensive to rip.
Yeah.
How many unreal, gold, green, and black or black gold, rookies or even top veterans are sitting in those boxes waiting to be ripped.
Exactly.
And it's not going to happen because the prices got too high. Let's get those cards. Let's get those prices down a little bit. Let's get that product ripped and let's get these cards on the market.
Well, I do think you'll see clearance stickers or a price drop on a lot of products here in about 3 or 4 months, especially from Panini, some of the lower end stuff that they priced a little too high.
Yeah. And that was, that's another issue. You put out a crap product and you put too high of a sticker on it, you're going to wind up getting stuck holding it. I get, but it's, the decent products.
Oh, no, I know.
It should be out there that are doing that. But
yeah.
And that's what I got this week.
All right. Well, we'll be right back, guys, because, we got to pay bills. And welcome back, everybody, to episode 165 of Let Me Get That Potograph. And now it is time for the segment that is still taking the nation by storm. It's time for Movers and Shakers. And Scott, I'm going to kick it off this week because I've had one for about 5 to 7 days now that I've wanted to talk about. So
good that you know what we should have done a show last week then.
Well, no, it just actually, I'm glad I waited because there's been more news coming out now to support everything I'm about to say. So,
all right,
my mover and shaker right now is Christian McCaffrey.
Okay,
Christian McCaffrey of the Panthers. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, the Panthers are the worst team in football. Yes, we are. Christian McCaffrey's not having the greatest season in the world. No, he's not, because we're freaking terrible and our defense is on the field more than any other team in the league. Our offense can't stay on the field. So why is Christian McCaffrey a mover and shaker? Well, because he will not be a Carolina Panther next year. Now, he will not be traded before the deadline.
You don't think so?
No, he will not be traded before the deadline, but he will be traded in the offseason. He has a very, very cap-friendly contract this year that rolls over into next year partially to where they can move on from him and the team that gets him can renegotiate it when they sign him. So he has a very cap-friendly deal for any team to be able to make a trade. Carolina has pretty much said that Derek Brown, Brian Burns, DJ Moore, those are the untouchables. So
yeah, well, they just traded Robbie Anderson.
Well, they should have.
Yeah,
dumbass. But CMC gone from Carolina next year. I think he's traded. We need the draft picks because we've traded them away for so many people. We have none in the next 2 years. We only have 4 in this year's draft right now. Oh, I do think we trade for draft picks and a player. I think Christian McCaffrey moves on to another team. I think he moves on to a contender, and I think he goes on to start winning. I love Christian McCaffrey. I think he's so criminally low right now because we're so bad. I'd love him as a buy because I think when he gets to a new team, I think he's refreshed. I think he's energized. I don't think he wants to leave Carolina, but it looks like that's something that we've resigned, at least reports around here, that we're going to be moving on from him. And so if we are, the team that gets him, I'm assuming, is going to be an instant contender when they get him. Otherwise, you're not really trading for him. You're not mortgaging the farm. I don't see us really being able to do that. So I think he goes to a contender, and I think his cards skyrocket. So CMC is my mover and shaker.
So why don't you think he's going to be traded before the deadline? Why do you think Carolina's going to wait till the offseason?
Well, I used to write for the Panthers as a beat writer, so I still know a lot of people that are writers there, and all of my friends that work in the industry, that work with the Panthers, that work close to the organization, say he's not being traded this year. Said they shopped him around. The offer and the asking price is way too high. So, like I said, for CMC, you're going to want multiple firsts. You're going to want a lot for him, and that's what they're asking right now. Now, they're not going to get near that right now at the trade deadline because we're so bad. And now his contract is incredibly cap friendly. So that is the one thing, is any team in the league could absorb it easily right now. But I don't think he gets moved because they seem resigned to hold off and let Steve Wilkes have his shot, see if they rally around him, which I don't think they do because it's just, the infrastructure is not there in place. But everything I've heard says that he's not gone. But the offseason, he's out of here. I hate to say it. He's one of my favorites. But I just don't see him in Carolina at the end of the year. I do see him throughout the year, though, just from everything I've heard locally.
Okay. My mover and shaker this week is also going to take us into our next segment.
All right.
And my mover and shaker this week is Timothy Weah.
Nice.
Now, for those of you who don't know, he is on the U.S. men's national team. The World Cup is coming up in a couple of weeks, and he did not play in the 2 friendlies that the U.S. team played in Europe earlier in the month that did not do very well because he was injured. But he came back. He plays for Lille and played 25 minutes off the bench and had 2 assists during a 3-0 win. So the fact that he can come back and, even though he's playing short minutes as opposed to a 90-minute game, to have 2 assists in a 25-minute span.
Yeah.
When you're not playing with Erling Haaland or Mohamed Salah, who, can score goals quickly, it, really says something about, the way his rehab went, and really shows chances for, him coming back and making that World Cup roster, which, he was kind of a borderline on, but I don't believe he's a borderline anymore. He does not have a lot of cards out there.
No.
That's the nice thing. He's in 21, 22 Champions League. There are autographs in there as well. I haven't even looked up to see what his, if he has a true rookie card or not, but I would guess that he probably does not. But his stuff is criminally low at the moment. And I think if anybody is going to have a, aside from, the big names like Pulisic and, stuff like that, if anybody is going to have a monster showing in Qatar in a couple of weeks for the U.S. team, it is going to be Tim Weah. And I'm going to stand by that.
No, I absolutely love that pick. I like Weah a lot. Like you said, the rosters and everything for the national teams, they're going to be announced here in just a couple of weeks. He's making a great push to be a starter on the World Cup, if not significant time off the bench and one of the first off, if not a starter. I think he's probably locked in a starting job. If people haven't been listening and still don't believe us, just watch what happens to this soccer market when the World Cup starts.
Exactly.
I mean, it's going to be insane. It is going to be a couple of weeks where it is just, you're going to hear more soccer coverage everywhere, not just in the hobby, but everywhere than you've ever seen. It's going to be one of the biggest ever. And this men's team for the U.S. is quite talented. And so that's going to make it even bigger of a story over here. This hobby is set for a massive boom, like I've been saying forever. You're already starting to see it, but
National Treasures World Cup just came out yesterday.
Yes,
that is a crazy looking product,
dude.
And now obviously Panini, when they make a soccer product, it is, for the World Cup, it is, the players in their national team uniforms on the images, which is fine. I actually like that better than, the airbrushed Players Association license type cards like they do for baseball, Prism Select and Immaculate and stuff like that. But I'd rather see them in their club uniforms. It just, that's just a personal preference. But when you have a guy in a men, like people may not root for Lily with Tim Way, but when they see him in a U.S. men's national team, hey, look, you got the entire country that's going to play for those. That product, I think, is still criminally low priced, considering it's a National Treasures product. A lot of the breakers, have been ripping it over the last 24 hours, and the stuff that I've seen come out of it is absolutely beautiful.
You can do so much cool stuff with soccer. The jerseys, the gear that you have, the soccer balls, the nets, there's so much cool stuff you can do with this. Soccer.
Absolutely. And I am really excited to see, Prism World Cup is going to be coming out soon. The stickers have been out for a while. And those, I love ripping those. You get like a buck 25 a pack.
There's a massive market for them too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, a massive market for the stickers. They're huge and they're so much fun to rip. They're so much fun.
And they're available pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Besides
my Walmart, they're always sold out at my Walmart, but yeah.
Oh, well, I got a Walgreens a block from my house that's sitting on like 30 boxes.
Oh, yeah. I need to check Walgreens.
Yeah. That's the place I'd go, and you can get numbered stickers in there. I mean, they're rare, but you can hit them. The blue variation, the red variation.
The reds are tough. The gold foils are beautiful.
Yep, I had 3 packs yesterday that I ripped. That of the 5 stickers that were in there were 2 gold foils and a blue.
Oh wow!
In one bag, and I had 3 of them out of the 22 that I ripped that were like that. They sell really well too. The golds, the blues, even the scrub players on the blues, you can at least get a buck for. And they were like 1 in 3 packs or something ridiculous like that. And it's a fun rip.
No, absolutely, man. There's so many. I mean, and outside National Treasures, you've had other great soccer products released lately, Merlin and things like that are just that are just absolutely killer. But yeah, dude, with the World Cup coming up, everything like that. National Treasures, absolutely. It's not that bad to get into either. I mean, you can get in for compared to a lot of other high-end breaks and stuff. You can get into it for relatively a decent price. And the stuff is incredible. It looks beautiful. I love how Panini and Topps, both of them, have done soccer in the last couple of years. I think it's been phenomenal.
Oh, I agree, and I'm excited to see what's going to come after this year with the the moves that are made and kind of what they're going to end up doing with it. So we'll see some Panini products with Erling Haaland because they've got the Premier League sets that they do. And back to my question I asked a couple months back is, are they going to put a rookie logo on Haaland's cards because technically he's a Premier League rookie, or are they just going to kind of leave it as is? So we don't know. We'll see. We'll figure that out when we see the sets come out.
Now, 2 years ago, I'd say no way. But the way they manipulate the rookie card logo these days, anything.
Well, look at NASCAR. How many Haley Deegan cards have come out over a 3-year, 4-year period that have had the rookie logo on it? 2018. I know 2020 had the rookie card logo on it too. And it's like, I don't know if 2021 had it. I forgot about that. But it's like, how many times can somebody be a rookie?
Right.
But I guess if there's anybody that they're going to do it with, it's going to be Haaland, and deservedly so. He's been having an unreal year.
Incredible.
I
still say during the World Cup, he's one of the biggest buys because he's not playing.
Yep.
That's your buy during the World Cup. Because I guarantee you see like your rant of the week, like we were just talking about. I guarantee you see a dip in Haaland during the World Cup because he's not playing.
I see. That's the thing. I don't know if you're going to see a dip. Now, I don't think you're not going to see an increase,
right?
Like you will with some of the other guys. I think it'll be a stable pricing because he's gonna come back after having a month off.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna be so dominant when he comes back.
He's already the leading candidate for the Ballon d'Or.
Ballon d'Or,
which is the award given out by a French magazine that celebrates the best player in in soccer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't see anybody else right now that would win that as long as he keeps up, you know, his play.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah. So National Treasure Soccer out, guys, right in time, coincidentally or not, right before the final teams are announced for the World Cup or the final rosters are announced for the World Cup. And we're inching closer and closer to that magical time. But definitely check out National Treasures because it is pretty sick. But Scott, man, I think that's probably a good time to wrap up the show. What do you think?
I would agree.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. And as always, I'd like to thank our awesome sponsors, Denver Card Shows, Show Your Slabs, Slab Strong, and of course, Vandy Slabs, along with Gem Mint, and of course, iHeartMedia and Panini on Let It Rip. And guys, we got some awesome stuff coming up here in the next few weeks. We've got a couple of guests that I'm working on right now for a show here coming up soon. A lot of big stuff. And as always, check out a new episode of Let It Rip this week, as well as Hobby Hotline every Saturday on Bench Clear Media, every Tuesday on the Hobby Hotline YouTube. But Scott, man, it's always a pleasure.
Always, Drew. We will see everybody next week.
Absolutely. Until then, you guys know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits, and we'll talk to you then. Peace!